What's going on, people? It's your boy Nando, and this is the final 2020 podcast with me and Jermaine. For 2020, we're going to run through who we think Fighter of the Year, KO of the Year, Fight of the Year, and much more in our prediction for 2020. Waiting for Jermaine right now. Hopefully, we can get him on. I think he's here right now. There he is. What's going on, Jermaine?
Yeah, no, man. That's it. Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
I was just telling the viewers what this podcast is about. Obviously, it's the last one of 2020 to run through such a weird and hectic year. But before that, we got to talk about one sponsor. Obviously, Dirty South. Dirty South Boxing. If you head over there to www.dirtysouthboxing.co.uk for the best boxing gear, best equipment. You can get your gym equipped. You can get your girlfriend's name on your gloves. You can get anyone's name on there. You could get it all customized, everything. Even before your fight, you could get mouth guard. You can get everything. You name it, they can do it. Jermaine, why should they go with Dirty South?
Yeah, I could get your boxing rings, you get your gloves, get your groin protectors, gum shields, head guards, even down to the boots, down to your fight boots. You name it, it's all there on the website, Dirty South.
What about a promo code, Jermaine? Well, what happens if they put BMW20?
They get a 20% off their purchase. Once they go to the checkout, they put the promo code BNW20, get 20% off.
Soon we'll be getting the brand new Mexican range. I want you guys to check that out. If you go over to their Instagram account, even ours, you'll see pictures of the brand new gold ones. Can't wait to get a pair of these, Jermaine.
Banging, they're banging. For me, they're gonna do well. For anyone who's gonna look at the fight anytime soon, in the new year, I would say definitely purchase these. Once they get licensed as well, which they will do soon, 100% these gloves are gonna take off.
100%. Right. As I said at the beginning, it's been a crazy year, Jermaine. Obviously, we started off well, had a little break due to what's going on in the world right now. But thank our lucky stars, with or without fans, boxing came back. And it's been quite a good year for boxing because we've had a few shocks. We've had great fights and some amazing fight of the years, great fighters, up-and-coming fighters that have been around. I want to start off with, in your opinion, who is fighter of the year of 2020?
I'll go for the takeover, Teofimo Lopez, man.
I knew you were going to go with
it. Come on, man. I told you this before anyway. That me and you spoke about this fight months before it happened, or maybe about a month before it happened. And I told you Lomachenko was going to take his second defeat of his career. I said it. And I believe this kid is the real deal. He's only 23 years old. I watched him make his debut up until him winning his first world title when he beat Richard Comey by knockout, brutal knockout. Lomachenko was in the crowd that night, and they finalized a deal to make the fight happen. And I knew, obviously, after Lomachenko had that fight with Luke Campbell, he struggled against Luke Campbell. And I just thought, with a fresher, younger fighter who's got a bigger punch, he's got a bigger punching power, and he's more exuberant, got a good coach behind him as well, and his father. I knew they had a game plan they were executing, and they did that night.
No, I totally agree. For me, obviously, the Ring Magazine has already given it to both Fury and Teofimo Lopez. Look, they both deserve it because you got Tyson Fury, who made one of the greatest, if not the greatest, comeback in boxing history for everything that he went through. He came back. He was 50% fit. He schooled Deontay Wilder, despite Deontay Wilder knocking him down twice. He still won that fight, in my opinion. Right? Everyone thought because of what happened in the first fight, Wilder was going to come back stronger and actually finish the job. And he absolutely schooled the guy and became the WBC champion. But what Teofimo Lopez did was the unthinkable. because not a lot of people would have agreed with you, Jermaine, that he would have beaten the boogeyman, the man that Mike Tyson turned around and said he hasn't seen a better technique on a fighter since Muhammad Ali, and that's a massive, massive statement, especially from Mike Tyson. And whether look, I'm not going to take nothing away from the guy. Whether it's true that Loma had an injury that night or not, he still did the job, and he did the unthinkable. And for me, I agree with you. It has to go to Teofimo Lopez, and this kid is unbelievable, massive talent. He can box, he can hit. He's only 23 years old, and he's already like unified champion. And he's only going to get.
I say undisputed. For me, he's undisputed champion because he beat the man who was the man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, Lomachenko was for me was obviously WBC champion, rightly WBC champion, until they gave Devin Haney the title and they made him the franchise champion. But for me, he's always been the champion until someone's beat him, which no one at the time did. He's always been the man to beat, and the way he beat him as well was just fantastic. And for me, he's undisputed champion. I don't know why they got all these belts and stuff like that in the way of the title naming this guy. For me, he's been undisputed champion for me, and everybody knows it, and he knows it.
100%. I totally agree with you, and I think there's a lot of people out there that wouldn't disagree with us, to be honest. So it's going to be hopefully a fantastic 2021 with this kid, and we get to see him not fight once, but hopefully he can fight at least 2-3 times next year.
100%.
And what's your fight of the year of 2020, Jermaine?
Wow, that's a tough one, you know. I mean, you got the likes of obviously the fight we just mentioned, Lopez, Lomachenko. You got for me. For me, it would be Canelo Smith. Just recently. Just the way Canelo bossed the fight. Came forward. I really thought a lot of Canelo Smith. I thought he'd do much better than he did. I thought he might be able to give Canelo some sort of trouble, but Canelo was just on a different level that night, and he boxed superbly well. Usually, what surprised me a lot about Canelo that night as well is the jab. The jab was ferocious, and I thought, wow, when I was watching him land these jabs, I was thinking, wow, like a big guy like Canelo Smith, and you're landing jabs like that, and you're coming forward and you're landing shots to the body, and pushing them back. And I thought, as the fight went on, I thought he might actually stop Canelo Smith. So for me, that probably was the fight of the year for me.
I think there's a lot of people that won't disagree with you with that. For me, this was a hard one, and you might be surprised at the one I'm going to choose. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking it's not just about the magnitude of the fight. I think I look at even the way people write off someone's opponent, and they shock the world of their performance, in my opinion, and their opponents. Now, one could be Fury versus Wilder, because a lot of people I know, people on Twitter, and even people in the boxing world, apart from the UK, of course, were backing Wilder for this fight. The other one was Teofimo Lopez. You're the only person I know, or I hardly saw on Twitter or even online, backing Teofimo. That's another one. Canelo is another one, because that was for me a 50-50 fight, and it was a one-sided fight. The one of my favorite fights this year, and you know what, I'm gonna give this my fight of the year, is Terry Harper versus Natasha Jonas. The reason why I give it this fight, one for me is probably robbery of the year, in my opinion, because I had Natasha Jonas up by 2 rounds. The other one is the fact that even before this fight, they were already talking about Terry Harper's next fight against the Polish one that lost to Mayer, the American Mayer. They were already talking about a fight, this and that. They were looking past her. the bookies gave her no chance. Me and you spoke about this fight before, and for me, Jonas was going to win this fight. I think they underestimated her. She right now should be WBC champion. I think it was an absolute robbery. And it was one of the fights this year that I actually enjoyed. And I know there's been a lot of fights this year, but for me, it's the one that, even though it wasn't a big fight, and a lot of people in the boxing world probably didn't know, some of them don't even know who Terry Harper is or Natasha Jonas, and that's no disrespect to them. It's just that we live it's bad, but we have boxing fans out there that just watch men's boxing, and they need to get into women's boxing.
Mhm.
This year has been probably more exciting than the men's. And for me, this was the fight of the year for me.
Yeah, for me, that was a fantastic fight. For me, I echo your opinions on the fight, on the result. I think Natasha Jonas won that fight by at least a round or two. She came forward, rocked her a few times as well, and I think that fight. I think the judges that night were poor as well. I think the scorecards were poor, and I think everybody knew after the reaction. I think even Terry Harper knew after the fight that she probably didn't do enough to win that fight. And the fact that there's not being an immediate rematch straight away probably justifies they don't want to fight me. Maybe they don't want that fight anytime soon. They want to take another avenue, maybe unify the world title, and then hopefully maybe they do fight again, because I know the British public are going to be demanding that fight again one day, because it has to happen again, because it was that good a fight.
100%. The other, do you know what? Take away the ones that I already said. The one that, for me, if it wasn't for this one, and it came close to this one, because I think the magnitude of the fight was big, and it was just like the same situation. Everyone wrote the guy off, except for me and for you and a few others that we know. Joe Joyce Dubois, because from
Yeah.
this fight got announced, I put my hands up. I said Dubois knockout. As the fight got cancelled and it was coming closer, I had a change of heart, and I thought, do you know what? I think Joe Joyce is going to do it, but I didn't think he was going to do it in the style by breaking him down and making him quit. I didn't think it was going to be like that. I thought he was just going to knock him out, in my opinion. I never thought he would win on points. I thought it was never going to go the distance. For me, it was a close one. It was between Jonas and Harper, and that fight. Quite close, but I'm going to give it to Jonas and Harper.
Yeah, I mean, that's another cracking fight. There were so many good fights this year, so many good domestic fights that we can talk about as well. But that fight was great. I mean, we did speak about that fight as it got close to the fight, and some people did say Dubois, some people did say Joyce. Obviously, Joyce was a massive underdog. Even Freddie Frank Warren would probably say that he was backing Dubois more to win that fight. But as it got closer, I said as well that if it went late, Joe will win that fight. Joe Joyce will win that fight, because he's got the stamina. He's been in those sort of championship rounds. He's been in Olympics where he's been taken to deep waters, and Daniel Dubois has never been taken to deep waters, and he did for the first time, and he couldn't swim. He just couldn't swim. He just got caught with a jab all night long until he slowly got broken down, and then his eye socket completely went. A lot of people obviously criticizing Daniel Dubois, but he'll come back again. But for me, that fight was a cracking fight, because nobody gave Joe Joyce a chance. You look at the bookies that night. You look at the odds that night. It was just crazy. So many people won so much money because no one believed that Joe Joyce would win that fight. And the way he put on that performance as well, the way he conducted himself leading up to the fight, and then just went back to basics in terms of getting behind a jab and going back to his strengths, and he broke him down and got the win.
It hasn't been a great year for the bookies. They didn't back Joe Joyce. They lost a lot of money. They didn't back Lyndon Arthur. They lost a lot of money. They didn't back Craig Richards. They lost a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who does these odds, but for me, with the Joe Joyce ones, I think the Joyce odds were just ridiculous. I don't know whoever I'm saying, but whoever did the odds for the bookies, especially for Sky Bet, mate, they need to find someone else, mate, because I can't remember what the odds were, but that was ridiculous. Craig Richards 7-1 to beat Shaq Hitters. That's a bit of an insult. And whoever backed Craig that night should be happy. And the other one was Lyndon Arthur. The odds were ridiculous for remember that one. Me and you spoke to Alfie Warren the day before the fight, and we both said it's a 50-50 fight. We got a guy, the puncher, against the guy who can box and can jab, and this year has been the year of the jab.
And this year has been the year of the underdogs.
And the
all them fighters you named, underdogs. Craig Richards wasn't a champion, won the belt. Joe Joyce, underdog, won the fight. Lyndon Arthur, underdog, won the fight. Teofimo Lopez, underdog, won the fight. It's the year of the underdogs.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that these guys? Fury was probably underdog as well.
Jonas should have been on that list, and it's a shame.
Yeah. So I said, the underdogs this year have really come in, and this is what makes boxing so exciting. I'm going to throw another one in. I think it was that year as well. I think it was this year. Rachel Ball, Shannon Courtney.
Yeah, that's another shock already.
That's another shot, another underdog.
The best domestic fights of the year as well. So
yeah,
100%.
There's so many great fights where some people have just come out of nowhere and just basically stopped the hype train in a way. Because a lot of fighters there, I'm not having to dig at anyone, but there's a lot of hype behind some of those fighters who we mentioned. And some of these fighters who underdogs came in there and had all against them, and they came and got the win. And it's kind of made it look like, wow, now some of these guys now, some of these guys and girls, they deserve big fights now. There's no reason why they can't get big fights now, because they've come from being from the ground up and they beat the champions, and now they put their name out there for big fights.
100%.
But there's another fight. Obviously, we can mention as well. Top Rank as well. Top Rank put on some great shows this year. If you didn't watch that, I forgot what his name is. Ivan Brent. Well, I forgot his name was. I forgot his name. There's a fight where there's 3 or 4 knockdowns in one round, something like
that. That got five.
Yeah, and there's a late stoppage. I forgot what his name was, but it's in the same. I think it's in light welterweight division. I think it's a light welterweight division, and yeah, it's great. I mean, a great knockout towards the end. Obviously, there are 3 or 4 knockdowns in one round, and then there's a late stoppage. For me, that could have been a fight of the year as well.
I'll tell you another great fight before we move on. Is Richard Brekus, light heavyweight, golden contract, European light heavyweight title. Do you remember that? What a scrap! Yeah. What a scrap that was. Like, I thought that was an amazing fight. Not good enough for fight of the year, but it's up there.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great fight, and obviously a late stoppage. Both of those two were throwing bombs that night as well, and then you got the Richard Volotniks got a late win and stopped him, and obviously now he's put his name in the hat for big fights in 2021. So that was a great night in general. The main event was that fight, and then obviously you had a few fights on undercard who were great as well. So there's really been some good fights this year, and hopefully we go into the new year and some bigger fights will come about as well.
100%. Your KO of the year.
Gervonta Davis versus Leo Santa Cruz.
Yeah, that got KO of the year. I somewhat agree with you. For me, that's my second. My knockout of the year, and our sponsors won't be happy with this. For me, it's Alexander Povetkin against Dillian Whyte. The reason why I give it to Dillian Whyte is because despite Gervonta Davis's knockout, he was winning the fight. Whereas Povetkin got knocked down twice. And even though that morning I said to you and I told my colleagues at work, I got a bad feeling about Dillian tonight, I got a feeling he's going to lose. The moment he knocked him twice, I thought, okay, cool. He's just going to finish him off. And to be knocked down twice and you're just getting absolutely mullered and just out of nowhere, you land this KO and knock out Dillian Whyte, who's only been knocked out, well, not knocked out, but yeah, knocked out once in his whole career. And now you are number 1 contender in the WBC and you send Dillian Whyte to number 5, which I don't understand the rankings anyway, how that happens. But anyway, for me, you deserve the KO of the year. For me, that's probably shock of the year, the way he did it. So he gets my KO of the year, Alexander Povetkin.
Yeah, I mean that knockout was unexpected because you're watching a fight and you're thinking it's only a matter of time. And I think when Dillian dropped him the second time, if there was another 20, 30 seconds and maybe added on, he would have stopped him in that round. I think it was maybe the fourth round, wasn't it? I'm not too sure if it was maybe the fourth round where he dropped him twice. But yeah, fourth round he dropped him twice. And I believe if he had a couple more seconds left on the clock of that round, I believe that Dillian would have got him out there. But you look at it, also when he dropped him, Povetkin wasn't really hurt. He wasn't really stunned. You look at him really, he got up pretty much straight away. He didn't look hurt, didn't look dazed, nothing like that. So in a way, he always possesses that left hand, that uppercut. You look at some of these fights he's done. He's knocked out Price before with that punch, David Price with that punch. So it's not unexpected. It's not something different or something new with Povetkin. He's got that in his arsenal. But yeah, it was a devastating knockout. Obviously, no one expected it, and the way he connected, once he caught him, Dillian was pretty much unconscious when he landed it. So it was a fantastic shot, which for me was a bit upsetting to see because I wanted Dillian to win that fight.
Yeah, of course.
But it was a fantastic knockout. But the reason why I picked Gervonta Davis as a knockout of the year is because he had to make a statement. People were saying, for me, look at Leo Santa Cruz is not being stopped. No one's knocked him out before. I've not seen anyone knock him out before. And he's a tough Mexican. He's been in there with lots of Frampton. He's gone 12 rounds with him. He's been champion, two-time champion as well. He's a tough cookie. And the way he dismantled him, obviously, he broke him down, but the knockout was just ferocious, man. The way he landed that uppercut and just put him through the ropes, for me, I was like, wow. It's just a blink of an eye. Like, wow, the power. And I think he made a statement that night saying to people like Ryan Garcia, to people like Devin Haney, to people like Teofimo Lopez, that next year, hopefully we can get one of these guys in the ring with him because that was a fantastic knockout.
100%. I don't think there's a lot of people that would disagree with you on that one. There's a reason why he got knocked out of the year. Like you said, Santa Cruz has never been knocked out, and to knock someone out for the first time in their career in a devastating fashion, that's definitely sending a statement in the division.
100%.
Your shock of the year? While you think about it, I'm going to say mine.
Yeah.
For me, it has to be Teofimo Lopez. Because, again, for me, it's about... If you look at Wilder Fury, it wasn't exactly 100% people wrote off Fury. It wasn't 100% they wrote off Callum Smith. They didn't 100% write off like Natasha Jonas in a way that the way they wrote off Teofimo Lopez. Because Loma was the guy that was just unbeatable, the guy that was considered the man that can't be beaten, the man that can't even be hit. You know, even though Linares did, but he was the bigger man, but he still did it. No one apart from yourself, of course, and a few people, I wouldn't say a lot of people backed him. For me, that's the shock of the year. You beat the boogeyman. You beat the man that was unbeatable. So you did something that so many other people couldn't do. So many people that he made quit. You know what I mean? So for me, deserves shock of the year. He deserves fight of the year. He deserves shock of the year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Lomachenko was phenomenal body. Some people will say he was the pound for pound #1. Some people might not say that, but like either way, for me, the way Lopez dominated that fight, because for me, he dominated that fight for pretty much the whole entire fight. It's only probably up until the last couple of rounds that Lomachenko started trying to get back into the fight, but by then it was too late. He just got bossed. He got dominated. He got beat up. He got broken down by a man who wanted it more. A hungrier fighter, a younger fighter, a more powerful fighter, and a bigger fighter. But my shock of the year, just the way the fight ended, would be Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Because who would have thought that Tyson Fury knocked him out? I
True.
couldn't see. I couldn't. Tyson Fury got in a new coach in Sugar Hill to bring in the power, so he can punch harder and bring the power in. And I just believe that he probably would have won that game, won that fight on points. I didn't really think he could stop him that way.
Totally
And it's
agree.
a fashion. It's in a way, in a fashion he stopped him. He broke him down round by round. From the first round to the I think it's the seventh round, he dropped him. I don't know, the seventh round, but
Seventh,
he
yeah.
broke. Yeah, he broke him down and he just beat him up. He beat him up for the whole fight. Like he bullied him. He bullied him on the inside. He tossed him around the ring as well. He leant on him a few times and he just busted him up. And yeah, and then the way he stopped him as well, it was just like for me, it was a shock of the year. It's just the way he won, just the way we won for me was a shock of the year. Just the way he broke him down and stopped him.
That was the boogeyman, the man that everyone thought he couldn't be beaten, and he was going to be beat. It would be on points. No one ever Wilder would ever get knocked out the way he would. Because I'll be honest with you, like as much as before, I used to always say, "Do you know what? AJ will knock out Wilder." Maybe deep down, I truly didn't believe that AJ will win, but I thought it might go the distance, or if he wins, it'll be by TKO, but not a knockout, like not like knocking him on the floor the way he did. Bully. I personally never thought anyone could bully Wilder that way. You know what I mean? And he just absolutely schooled him. Literally schooled him, because it's like he had that fire, that hidden anger from the first fight. And thought, I'm making a statement. I'm making a statement that judges won't rob me this time.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, it's just the way he came forward, and he made sure that Deontay Wilder had that fight on the back foot, and Deontay Wilder can't do that. You know, his balance is not the greatest. He just kept coming forward and just keep pushing him back, and Deontay Wilder didn't have nothing. He had no idea. He had no other game plan to the fight. He couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. He didn't know what to do with himself, and he just got broken down round by round, beaten up and stopped. And for me, you can use all the excuses you want for that fight, mate. After that fight, but he got busted up, man. And for me, that's the reason why I can't see that fight happening again. I can't see the trilogy happening, because he's got schooled the first time by a guy who's been out the ring 2 years and overweight, suffers from mental health and depression and stuff like that. And for me, he won that first fight, and then the second fight, no question of a doubt, he blasted him out there. And there's no point in being a third fight, because he's got his number. Fury has really and truly got Deontay Wilder's number.
100%. Who is your female fighter of the year?
That's a tough one, you know.
While you think about it, mine actually, you'll be shocked maybe at this one. There's a reason to it. I'm going to give it to Rachel Ball. There's a reason why, because some people might give it to Katie Taylor, who, yeah, defending their titles very well. Fair enough. Terry Harper, despite drawing to Jonas and people thinking she lost that, came back and schooled Katharina Fandez. Fair enough. You got Maya, who won the title. You got who else was there? Chantel Cameron, who became world champion. You got Savannah Marshall, who became world champion. For me, Rachel Ball, because she came into the Courtney fight last minute, unknown. She was only famous for losing to Katharina Fandez in Norway. No one knew who this woman was. Despite that, it was crazy. She was a little bit favourite against Shannon Courtney, only because of her height and her reach advantage. But a lot of the pundits never believed she would win. She shocked Courtney and beat her, knocked her down for the first time in her career and beat her. Then she was scheduled to get a world title fight straight away against Ebony Bridges. Bridges pulled out because of an injury, so she fought for the interim title and still won. To go from a nobody to go beat the golden girl of Matchroom and then go win an interim world title, and now you're next to go fight Ebony Bridges for the world title. For me, you deserve female fighter of the year, because despite the rest becoming world champions like Chantel Cameron and Savannah Marshall, it's no disrespect to these girls, but their opponents wasn't that great. Whereas Courtney was a tough opponent against her, and she overcame that and then went on to go win even though her opponent for the interim title wasn't much, but still, for me, what you achieved in 1 year in 2 fights, you definitely deserve that in my eyes.
Yeah, man, she was fantastic this year. You got to give her credit. I mean, I interviewed her at the start of the year, just before the Shannon Courtenay fight. Just a story of obviously being a care worker,
Yeah,
and obviously not being sponsored, not having a backing from that matchroom and the sponsors and stuff like that, and to be working full time and doing boxing part time. The story is for me is inspiring in itself, and obviously to get that win and then go on to fight for a interim world title and win that fight, and then puts her out there next year for bigger fights. She can definitely be going down as a female fight of the year. But another one I'd like to throw in a hat there as well is Jessica McCaskill.
yeah.
Uh, she beat
Breakers.
yeah, Breakers, Celia Breakers, to become pretty much a unified champion. And obviously no one probably expected it was a great fight. Obviously, it's a great matchup. No one expected her probably to win that fight. They probably had her as an underdog as well. And for her to become to win that fight that night as well and become champion and win all them straps, she can easily be going on as female fight of the year. But for me, I'll give it to Rachel Ball as well because of the story behind it. No one, like I said, underdog. No one believed that she'll beat Shannon Courtenay. The odds were just massively stacked against her. She dropped pretty much in the first round, and then obviously you had to ride out at the last minute a little storm from Shannon Courtenay towards the end, but done enough to win on points, and then obviously fighting again this year and winning that fight as well. So for me, I'll give it to her as well.
100%. Before we go, Jermaine, I want you to pick 3 fights in your opinion that you think 100% will happen next year, and what's your prediction for these fights? 3 each. We'll go back and forth.
Okay. Obviously we spoke about it before. I didn't throw that in the hat in the first message I sent you, so I'm gonna throw it here. Now is a fight I want to see happen after obviously Taylor, Josh Taylor beat Regis Prograis, and then Jose Ramirez beat Morris Hooker to become unified champion. Both of them become unified champion. There's only one fight that can be made, and that's Josh Taylor beats Jose Ramirez for the undisputed titles next year. So they're both top ranked fighters as well. Should be easy to make. So for me, Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez for me is a fight that will be made next year. And if you ask me who's going to win it, I just believe Josh Taylor will win it. I just believe that guy is just tough cookie. He's hungry, and he seems to be getting better and better each fight. I always knew he'd be a world champion when I saw him fight for the Commonwealth, and then I also saw him the way he made O'Hara Davis quit as well back in the day. I just knew this guy was going to be a world champion. And
was that before or after got thrown under the bus by Eddie Hearn? Remind me.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He probably won't want to hear that. But no, yeah, no. I just knew from then he's going to be a world champion, and the way he conducts himself as well. And that fight for me with Regis Prograis was just a fantastic fight. Probably could have been the fight of the year last year if it wasn't already. So I believe that fight will get made next year. They both won it. There's no excuses now. Obviously now I think there's Jack Catterall now is stepped aside as well.
Yeah.
For that fight to happen. So there's no reason why that fight can't be made now. So I believe that fight will be made next year.
100%. That's actually one of my fights I was going to say. And I totally agree with you. I think that fight will get made. It's going to be a tough fight. I think it's going to be an even fight, in my opinion. It won't be easy. But Josh Taylor, for me, will win by points. Definitely. One fight that I believe truly will happen, and the reason why I think it will happen is because both set of fighters will want this fight. There's a lot of money into it. And I believe that Eddie Hearn will protect his fighter and he wouldn't want him to fight Teofimo Lopez. He wouldn't want Haney to fight him. So I think it's going to be Teofimo Lopez versus Gervonta Davis next year for all his titles. And I can see this happening. And if this fight happens, Jermaine, I pray fans are there because it's going to... And one thing I will say is don't blink. That's all I got to say is don't blink. And as much as I rate both fighters, and I think they both can box, I think they both can hit, and they're so young, and they've got a bright future in boxing. Teofimo Lopez will edge it for me for this fight.
Yeah, that fight I was actually thinking. Obviously, I wasn't. Obviously, I'm not too sure if Gervonta Davis is going to stay at 130, 130 pounds. I wasn't too sure if he's going to stay there or he's going to go up and try and fight the takeover for his belts. But that's a fight. I'm sure both fights will win. I'm not too sure. Actually, when I say both fights, I'm sure Lopez will win it. I'm not too sure. I don't know. I reckon Tank will win it, but I'm not too sure if his team will win it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not too sure maybe where he wants him to get in there with Lopez just yet. He might want to try and get a few more fights. Maybe go after fight someone like Belcher for the WBC, and then go up and fight Lopez. But it's a fight. It's for me. Hopefully, it does happen next year because it'd be a fantastic fight, and someone will get stopped in that fight. I can't see that going 12 rounds because they both punch so hard, and yeah, I just can't see it going 12 rounds. They both punch so hard. They're both young. They're both hungry. They both want to put on a show as well. And when you've got two fighters who want to put on a show, the show they know is by knockout. So yeah, I just think it's going to be a great fight. Because we're not really seeing both fighters' chins be tested properly in their careers, in their young careers as well. It's going to be hard to pick who's going to get knocked out. But I would sway towards Lopez because I just look at his arsenal and I think he can box really, really well. He doesn't get reckless at times, and he can bang, and he can switch it up as well. So that's why I believe he's got a little bit more to his game than Gervonta Davis. So I believe if that fight happens, he late stoppage for Lopez.
Who's your second fight?
I believe the fight will be made because not because the fans want it, and I'm not really bothered about this fight. I'm sad to say, but I believe that Canelo Triple G trilogy will be made next year. And the reason why I believe it will be made next year is because Canelo wants to become undisputed super middleweight champion, and who holds the belts to stop him from being super middleweight champion?
True.
One of the belts is held by Gennady Golovkin himself, IBF super middleweight champion. And then you got IBF. IBF, I think.
Yeah, he's got the IBF.
Yeah, IBF, and then obviously, yeah. So he want to win that belt and come undisputed. Obviously, he has to fight Kelly Plant as well to become undisputed.
Joe Saunders.
Billy Joe Saunders as well. There's fights out there. So I just believe that fight will happen again next year because usually Canelo asks that question: would you fight Triple G? And usually he plays it down and said, no, I don't really want to fight him. I beat him already. I don't really need to fight him. But they asked him that interview after the Callum Smith fight, and he didn't say no. He didn't say no. There's going to be a lot of money made in that fight as well. So I believe that's another thing as well. He's his own man now, so he'll take any fight. Maybe before he's promoter and stuff like that, Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy will probably stop him from having that fight. But I believe now he's his own man now. And obviously he took the Callum Smith fight, that's the fight fans wanted for a long, long time now. He took that fight now since leaving DAZN, and I believe he'll take the Triple G fight next year.
Who winning?
Canelo again for me. He's just a different beast, mate.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I've seen flaws in Golovkin's game when he fought Derevchenko. It wasn't the greatest performance. Obviously, the last opponent the other day, he was poor. He wasn't the greatest of opponents. And Canelo seems to be getting better and better every fight. And I just believe I believe he'll win on points. I don't believe he'll stop Golovkin, but I believe he'll beat him on points.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm a big Triple G fan. It's a shame because Triple G won the first fight. It would have made this fight a lot more exciting. But I'm not looking forward to this fight because, yeah, Canelo will win it by points. I think that as much as we are all human, I don't think there's a man alive that can knock out Golovkin in that division. The guy is a robot. So it's the same as Canelo. I can't see anyone knocking him out. If them two could take each other's punches, there's no hope for anyone. Simple as
Yeah.
that. So yeah. The other fight that I think will happen next year, the reason why I think this is going to happen is I think it's safe to say we can agree that hopefully, I don't want to jinx it, Fury AJ is going to be made, right? For me, obviously a rematch is going to be straight away. They've already said that if it gets made, straight away is a 2-fight deal. As much as Usyk has said, I will step aside to let this fight happen, I don't think he will step aside to let the second fight happen. So I personally believe, and Eddie has hinted it many times in his interviews, and he's mentioned it many times, and I think it will happen. AJ will vacate the WBA title, and I truly believe it's either going to be Usyk Parker or Usyk Joyce. And I think I'm swaying more towards Parker Usyk, because Parker, even though he's number 3, if he wins his next fight against Fu, he's gonna go back to number 1. No, number 2, sorry. So it's going to be Parker Usyk. And I think Usyk just schools him, in my opinion. And my prediction that I said last year comes true, that Usyk will become heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah, you did say you become a heavyweight champion of the world. And I said
more than once, 100 times, nearly every radio show I nearly said it.
Yeah, I couldn't see it because I couldn't see him beating that's a Fury or Joshua. If you're going to ring one of those two, I don't believe he'll be world champion because he's not big enough and he doesn't have the punching power. And if you look at the Derek Chisora fight, Derek Chisora landed a few good shots. If that's Andy Joshua, he's getting him out of there. It's simple as that. He's not going to take Joshua's power. So he's had an easy route to become world champion for me. I'm going to say it. He had an easy route because if Joshua vacates that belt, and he becomes world champion that way, he's had an easy way winning the world title. So I'm not going to be really counting that as too much of an achievement because I don't believe he's been in there with a proper legit heavyweight and a world champion to be called a world champion. So just like kind of, I'll probably put it the same way as Devin Haney. He's not been in there with a legit champion to be called a world champion in my eyes. So, but fair play to him. If it does happen, Joshua does vacate his belt and he does go on to a world champion. Fair play to him because it's not easy going up and weight and becoming a world champion in another heavyweight division. So, but yeah, back on towards back regarding obviously the Joshua Fury fight. Yeah, that's a fight I would love to see made. That's a fight that the whole of the nation would like to see be made, and not just the nation, this whole of boxing. That fight is massive for me. The biggest fight in British boxing history by far. Probably maybe even the biggest fight in boxing history since Ali Fraser, Freddie Manure. Honestly, that's how big that fight is, and it's a fight that we've been waiting for a long time now. And for me, there's no excuses now. That fight's got to be made, even if it's for undisputed champion, even if it's for just for three of the belts. But that's a legacy fight now. That's a fight when you retire, you look back and you show your kids the DVDs, you show your kids the belts, you show your kids the merchandise, and you talk about that round by round. That's the sort of fight it is. For me, that has to happen, and it's going to make the promoters so much more money as well. For me, only thing stopping it from happening in the UK will be the pandemic. That's the only thing will stop it from happening for me, because that fight should be a Wembley Stadium fight, 100%.
Of course.
But the reason why it probably won't be is because of the pandemic. That's why I'm getting a bit worried that you might see this fight being somewhere like Saudi Arabia or another country where they can host it without any restrictions. So, yeah, I really do hope that we get through this, and hopefully next year we get that blockbuster fight, and me and you can be there to watch it.
I know, but for me, you know what I've said about this pandemic. For me, my prediction for this pandemic, because things are just getting worse. People are just being silly about it. Don't really want to get into it really, but this pandemic ain't going until the following year. So if it means I get to see, I don't care, even if it's here, if it's Saudi Arabia on the moon, I don't care where it is, mate. I want it to happen. Even if it means I can't go, I have to bite the bullet and say, I want to see this fight. It deserves to have fans. No disrespect to the Saudi fans, but there was no atmosphere at that AJ Ruiz fight. But It's better than nothing. So do it anywhere. Do it in Africa, mate. Do it in Africa. Do it in Asia. Do it in Japan. Do it somewhere where there's good atmosphere and it's safe. Do it somewhere where it's safe. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many countries that are, I wouldn't say COVID free, but the cases aren't as high, and they could do it anywhere. But before we go, Jermaine, you got to give me a prediction for that fight.
That's a hard one, man. I see Joshua's getting better and better boxing wise. Last two performances, he showed that he can box. I want to see a little bit more from him in terms of the aggression and power that we wouldn't known when he first came around. But Fury as well is just that, I don't know, just the way he's awkward. Very good boxing brain, very good ring craft. I'm gonna go Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury to win. I got Tyson Fury to win on points.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is because I just can't see Joshua getting near him. Like in terms of, I just can't see him getting near him. I think his footwork is really, really good. He'll be in great shape for that fight. He's got a bit more punching power now. I just can't see him being able to stop him. I just really can't. I can't see him closing the gap and stopping him. And I just believe that Fury will just do enough to win on points.
I'm going to give you and the viewers a preview of how this fight is going to end. Go watch Lewis Tyson 2003. That's how that fight's going to end. That's how much Fury's going to school him. Fury obviously would be in better shape than Tyson and will perform better than Tyson. As much as I love Mike Tyson, that was one of the worst fights of his career, performance-wise and in the shape that he was, mentally as well. But that's how the fight's going to end. It's going to be one-sided. For me, it's going to be like Canelo Smith.
Wow, that's a big statement, man. I can't see it being one-sided.
Fury Wilder. I don't think he's going to beat him up like he did to Wilder, but I think it'll be one-sided. It'll be one-sided in a sense of half a yard. I think it'll be the jab. It'll be and Yard couldn't catch him, and I don't think AJ will catch him. I'm not saying it's going to be super easy for Fury, but I just think he will. I wouldn't say he's going to school him, but it's gonna make it look easy.
You think he stops him?
He can stop him because AJ has proven in the past he hasn't got a chin. He's proven in the past he hasn't got a chin. So
he's also proven that he has got a chin though, because he's also got from Klitschko dropping him as well. So he's also proved that he has got a chin as well.
True, but Fury can hit. Fury can hit. That's the thing. He's got a hard jab, bang. I don't know, mate.
It's gonna be tough, like because AJ can easily stop him as well. It's heavyweight boxing, so AJ can easily stop him.
100%. 100%.
I just wait 3 boxes. I just can't see it happening. I just can't see it happening. The way he boxes, the way he moves, the way he frustrates his opponent, and he'll make the fight ugly if he needs to. He'll fight dirty if he needs to. And I just believe that. I believe he might even get into Joshua's head before the fight as well. Leading up to the fight, I believe he might get into his head and make him box the way Tyson Fury wants him to box, and that's underperform.
So in other words, Fury's going to make him his bitch. Is that what he's saying?
I'm not saying those words, but Fury is going to frustrate him. That's what I believe.
That's a nice way of saying it. Fair enough. Jermaine, it's been a crazy year. 2021 is going to start with a bang because Ryan Garcia is going to knock out Luke Campbell in the 6th round this Saturday. To prove to the world he ain't just a YouTuber. He ain't just like me, just a guy on YouTube. He can bang, bruv. He can bang. What's your prediction before we go?
You know what? I really want Luke Campbell to win this fight because Ryan Garcia might be a future world champion. He might be a really good fighter, but there's too much hype around him, and I just believe he hasn't been anywhere with any good fighters yet. But Luke Campbell, for me, I saw an interview a couple of weeks ago with Teofimo Lopez and his dad talking to Eddie Hearn, and then he said that basically thing they called Luke Campbell a loser, and saying that in a way he's used to losing. He's mentally basically ready to accept defeat. And when I thought about that, I thought, wow, maybe sometimes he can come across that way because he's took a few defeats where if he showed a bit more belief, he might have went on to win that fight. I just think that right, they've been in America as well. He's probably going to have a few fans there. I just believe that that Ryan Garcia wins that fight.
I think it's a bit extreme calling him a loser. I will call him the Tin Man. He has no heart, in my opinion. That's it. For me, he has no heart, and it's a shame because he has a talent, and there's been many fighters in the past who has the talent to become a world champion and go on further, but with no heart. Him, David Price, there's been many. There's been many like that.
Boy, you're shooting them down today, innit, man? You're shooting them down.
Hey, you might as well end 2020 with a bang, you know what I'm saying? Bow, bow. That's it.
Like I said, I really do hope Luke Campbell wins that fight. For me, he needs to win the fight because that's his last chance to even be able to maybe even contest a world title after this. And if he loses this fight, for me, forget about trying to fight for a world title again because that'll be it. He has to win this fight. But I believe that Ryan Garcia will win this fight.
Totally agree. I think after he wins this fight, it will be the start of him becoming a star. And you know what? I'm going to hype him up like many people do. You're not going to like it. He's going to be a bigger star than Oscar De La Hoya, mate.
You know what? I hope he does because I don't like Oscar anyway. I never did like Oscar.
Neither do I. So,
yeah.
Main, it's been a pleasure. Obviously, too, we'll do a podcast straight after the Garcia Campbell fight. Straight after a few coffees, obviously, it's going to be early, actually. The show starts at 11 a.m. So if I'm not mistaken, the ring walk should be about 2 a.m. UK time, they said. Yeah. So not that bad.
No, not that bad at all. It should be good. Hopefully it's that time because obviously the Canelo fight was late, really late. Struggled to stay up for that fight. But yeah, hopefully that fight, obviously the ring walk is that time and then we can get the fight on. And it's not too late and a few people can stay up and watch it. But yeah, so if you want to also check out the podcast for that fight, for us after the fight, with the Pound for Pound boxing show.
That's it. Check us out on Instagram. The Pound for Pound boxing show, Twitter, P4_Shaw show. I don't know what's going on. _show. We're sponsored by Dirty South and IQ Boxing, and we're also in partnership with the Pugilist Magazine, one of the #1 boxing magazines out there in the world. So check them out, guys, as well. It's your boy Nando, Jermaine. It's the Pound for Pound boxing show. Signing off for 2020, guys.
Take care, guys.
Take care.